data to the internet, but it has to be combined with understanding through your education, and then that fuels advocacy, whether it be through organizations like the Tea Party, the individual Tea Parties, or the Mackinac Center. The more information that's out there, and the better we were able to assess it, analyze it, and look at what's really going on, the better off we'll be. And with that, I'll turn the microphone over to Scott and enjoy and appreciate your questions.
Transparency is many things. I want to note the Michigan fair tax is here, and one of the main arguments for the fair tax, it's very transparent. Everybody knows what they're paying because you see it when you buy the product in the form of a sales tax. I'm not sure if Tom McMillan mentioned earlier, but he was the sponsor of the amendment that required every single school district in the state to go online and be transparent. Mackinac, that was about a year and a half ago. Mackinac Center did a study a year ago, and even though that's state law, only 20% of school districts are complying. I've been in discussions with Tom, and he's in agreement that we need to put some teeth in that. And there's no excuse. They're getting 12 to 14 billion a year. You have a right to know how that money's spent. With that, I'll turn it over to Secretary Ruth Johnson.
Well, good morning. It is a new day in Lansing because of what you've done. I'm so happy that we are going to have transparency, we are going to have accountability, and that does equal freedom and liberty. And I'm also very encouraged because people kept saying, oh, this is a fad, they'll just go away. Oh, thank goodness you haven't, because there's so much to do, and we certainly can't do it without you. And it doesn't matter who the person is standing here or elected, we have to have changes in law, in our culture. And boy, did that kind of impress me last week when I was having lunch in my own hometown. And a woman came up to me, an elderly woman, and she said, I think you look familiar. I think I might know you. I worked for Beaumont Hospital for 38 years. Do I know you from there? I said, no, I'm their Secretary of State. She said, oh. I said, my name is, she goes, I know. Candace Miller. So it is about what we do, never about who we are. When I was at County Clerk Register of Deeds in Oakland County, we did put our financial statements online, and we also did something that I'm encouraging all clerks across the state to do. Is it's a simple program. We got the price way down. We got it so they could pay by the month. But anybody that runs locally, that you would be able to get their campaign finance disclosure information online. It's so very important. And one of the things I'm going to take time to do is any clerk that does that, make sure I go give them an award and get them a nice press release over it to encourage more and more clerks to do that. We also had the law changed to make sure another transparency. It's not just in the finances, it's every place. In Michigan in 2002, in March, the law changed. If your home is in foreclosure, you would have to just come in to see the Register of Deeds, which I was, in many of the counties, and we would tell you how much you owed. The law changed and it said you must go to the investor to tell you. Now let me tell you what happens on occasion. If you have a home that's worth, say, $150,000, you owe $50,000. You call that investor, and if they don't call you back, they make $100,000 off of you. Guess what was happening? Not only that, but they were being charged hundreds of dollars just to be told how much they owed. I have to, Nancy Cassis, Senator Cassis is gone, but she carried that torch. 4 years we went up there. For 4 years, my own association fought me with their lobbyists. But I'm happy to tell you that Oakland, Kent, and Macomb now are able to tell you how much you owe when your home's in foreclosure. That certainly is a transparency issue that we don't often think of. As you know, the fake Tea Party, the only reason why you were able to stop them is the little word, the. That meant it was going to come back. And that means across this country, it's going to come back in many of the states, and I'm working with other secretaries of states across this country with a white paper to stop that. I have a package of bills I'll be taking to the legislature. We're already working with them, and on the 19th, we'll let you know everything for our package that we're going to do. But two things, so we never have a fake Tea Party again. And by the way, if one party does it, there's always a couple people in the other party that will do it too. There's nothing worse than being deceived. Deception is not part of democracy. And you probably also read where the two young men that were not only involved in that deception, and there were more than them, but they also allegedly forged documents. And the way I know that is because as a clerk, a young man called from Arizona and said, why did I get this $30 fine for filing my information late? We said, well, because you're running for county commissioner. He said, I never signed up to run for that. And he didn't. It was forged, and notary was forged. Those two young men were both indicted last week. We have to make sure that there's nothing out there that allows our system to be part of deception. And that's what we have right now. So we're going to do two things. With Tom and others' help, we're going to get some bills through, and Dave. We're going to be able to stop that by doing two things. One is that if you start a new party, you will have to let people know 10 days in advance when your convention is. I would have loved to see that fake Tea Party convention if they would have let all of you know 10 days in advance. And the other thing that we're going to do is have them file all their paperwork so we know who's giving them money and where it's being spent. So just those two things, I believe, will stop any deception as far as the lack of transparency as who's starting any kind of party. We need more teeth in our laws for campaign finance, no doubt about it. And I'm so encouraged by Tom McMillan trying to get the schools to let us know. It is our largest funding that we do in the state, and so it should be. There's nothing more important. When I had subpoena power, I found out that our intermediate school district, and I had to get subpoena power to get this, our superintendent was being paid over $400,000 a year. $400,000. Not only that, I found other superintendents that have two packages, and we have to make sure that I found 25 ways they get paid that's not really counted in where you can find it without subpoena power. But a $480,000 whole life insurance policy and a $500,000 convertible life insurance policy. That means the day they walk out the door, they get an extra $500,000. Not to mention, we as taxpayers buy many, many years for their retirement. If you can imagine, and some of the retirements you get 2/3 as much. You'll find a lot of people get many big raises. I found one recently, and I know I'm Secretary of State, but I still watch that stuff. I'm a citizen, and I pay taxes. But one of them in the last few years got a $100,000 raise or close to it just before retirement, so they could add that into their benefit package. So there's many ways that we need to look at, not just campaign finance. The other thing is ethics. We have a package at the state that we all get, but I know that there's ways to get around that, and when I was a legislator, I saw how people get around it. I made sure that we have ethics training for all my top-level staff. I want to make sure they know what the rules are, and they also know that I'm very, very concerned about anybody violating those. And the other thing we're going to need to work on as time goes by is there's a way that I can collect money and not tell you. It's a legal loophole. They're called 527s and 501Cs. C4, C6, and I think C3 is C3, C4, C6. There we go. Those are ways that I, as anyone running or in office, can collect hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you'll never know about it. So that is a huge loophole, and that's something that we're going to be working on too, because I do think that transparency and accountability is the foundation of democracy, and the only way we have the ability to get where we're going is because you're the engine. Because if you didn't come and you didn't get involved and you didn't do what you're doing, I can tell you this, Michigan would be in one heck of a mess. I feel right now we have the leadership And I didn't know that Tom had even made that bill. I must have been on vacation when it was in the paper. But what a great idea. Anybody that gets money from taxpayer money should have to disclose. Again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everything that you've done and everything that you're going to do to make sure we get Michigan and this country back on the right track. And one more thing, I need your help. And here's how you can do it. Robbie and Jennifer are here, and they have some handouts. Become a poll worker, if you could do that. That's helpful. Volunteer to be a poll watcher. You'll learn so much. You'll be really part of the grassroots of democracy. And also continue to assist any candidates that share your values. We do have the sheet. It does have our email address. And the other thing is, because I am going to unveil a package that we'll be asking the legislature to put through, if you know of any way anybody's cheated, Republicans, Democrats, small parties, please let us know. We're coming up with packages that will stop it, put teeth in it to make sure that if you do it, there will be repercussions for it. So let us know if you've seen any cheating. We'd like to make sure that we don't have any. One citizen equals one vote. Thank you.
Certainly a lot has to be done, and I want to underline what's been going on here. We have over 1,200 townships in Michigan, over 535 traditional school districts. We have all kinds of authorities, lots of layers of government here in Michigan. I believe Michigan has more elected officials than any other state in the country. To give you an example, this is in the Free Press from last year. They were requesting information from the counties. They write, Wayne County wanted more than $91,000 for information the Free Press requested. Oakland County turned it over for free. Macomb County charged $60. So these policies can vary very greatly from county to county. But this is your government, it's your tax dollars, you deserve to have the information. It should be online, it should be available for free. When we're talking finances, bookkeepers aren't using paper and pencil anymore. This is somewhere on a computer disk. It should be online. It should be available for you to use and to investigate in every township, every city, every county, school district, and at the state. So we need you to write your legislators and tell them it's time for transparency, it's time for checkbook transparency. We actually have a couple hundred of these postcards right over here. So while you're here today, go over and get a postcard, fill it out, and say, we want transparency. If you don't know your legislator, put your address, and we'll look up your legislator and send it to them for you. But this is very, very important. Look at our 15 public universities. Look at the tuition increases. They should be online with every dime that they spend before they ask for a single penny more from students or from the state. Texas A&M is a public university, and their expenses are completely online and available to the public. With that, I'd like to open it up to questions. Do we have cards? How are we doing that?
I was wondering,
Oh, we'll go over here first.
I know you're saying to turn in anything that you see that's cheating or whatever, but a lot of things do not pertain to maybe your department. How do you know, I mean, is there somebody you can call to report cheating, or even if it isn't cheating, just investigating of things that are going on? Because, you know, you see it in your little cities all the time of what your councilmen are doing and what your, you know, like cities are doing, but you don't know who to talk to. So is there a main person you call, or?
Because the Secretary of State oversees elections, I don't see Open Meetings Act and those kinds of things. I'm talking about, like I was told by somebody that works elections that, and I couldn't confirm it, and I still can't, even as a Secretary of State, but there certainly is a way for people to, 4 people would get in a car, and it'd be like Detroit, Southfield, Pontiac, and I can't remember if it was Hazel Park or Oak Park. all sign up, register, because you don't have to show your ID, and then all go vote absentee. It's a way to get around it. It certainly could have happened, and it was reported to me. So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at. Maybe, I don't know where you would go if it's an Open Meetings Act complaint to you, other than that municipality. Tom, do you know?